Good morning. Welcome to Sneeze Farmhouse. Welcome to my channel. This morning I come out to start walking towards the farm, and as you notice, my peacocks are out on my patio. This is a normal thing. Here's the male. This is a normal thing for peacocks. Peacocks like to roam. So people ask me all the time, Judy, how do you free range your peacocks? Please know that they will go visit the neighbors. They do not always stay. But the good thing is, if you raise them from a pea chick, they will come back home. So it's time to go let the chickens out and to go feed the big animals. And today in Coleman, Alabama, we have bad weather. As a matter of fact, all the schools are closed today. So I have a lot of hustle and bustle to do before the storm sets in. So as you see, we have a new baby alpaca, which is called a cria, and we also have baby goats. And I want to talk to you today a little bit about what happens when there's change in my farm. So no fences, just friends. Well, how does that apply when everyone's together and there's babies born? It can be a challenge when all your animals live together. It's not an easy process. It does take time and consistency, just like it does with a kid. You know, if you're a parent and you're not consistent, well, what happens is your kid's discipline goes right out the door when you're not consistent. And it's the same thing with an animal. So anytime there's any type of change on my farm, it can be a challenge. So some of the challenges that I face with having no fences and separation of my animals is anytime there's a baby born, number one, I have to separate it from Leroy, my donkey. And you know, a donkey is a protector. Leroy is so special to my farm. I just want to give you one example. So anytime there's a storm, okay, all of my animals, including my bull and my heifer, all go inside the barn to not be rained on. And Leroy is an exception to the rule. Leroy absolutely stands outside the barn for protection. So he'll stand out in the freezing cold, the stormy weather, to protect his friends. But also a sign of protection is when anything new comes in the farm, he's the protector and he's going to protect his friends, right? Well, that happens when babies are born too, because he doesn't understand that they're part of the farm. So at that point is when I do have to do separation to teach him that they're a part of us. So generally, the process of separation usually is about at least a week. I usually separate the mom and baby into the barn, so there is an instant connection with them and the baby's used to nursing. Leroy can hear the sounds and know that the babies belong with us. So another challenge that I face with my animals having no fences, just being friends, is feeding time. So when you have sheep with alpacas and cows and pigs and goats, a lot of times the pigs can't eat the same thing that the other animals eat. So that begins to present a challenge to me on how do I feed all the animals when they only live together. So actually, once again, consistency is your best friend. So what I do is, once an animal comes to the farm, I teach them where their feeding place is. And consistency, I do the same thing every single day. So it gets to the point where they automatically know as soon as they see the feed bucket to go to their spot. So what happens in the morning is two things. The alpacas and the sheep get fed at night. So they go inside the barn at night to feed in a separate stall. But in the mornings, the cows and the pigs and the goats and the donkey all get fed in the mornings. So what happens is when I come up here with the feed bucket, they all know where to go. And if there's any like sometimes if it rains, they get all confused. Sometimes when there's babies and there's something new into the farm, they get confused. But I have to stick with the same routine every day to make sure that they go in that certain spot to eat. And that way that no one cross eats each other's food, and it really works nicely. So when it comes to the smaller birds, the chickens, the ducks, the peacocks, and the turkeys, so what happens is anytime there's any type of free ranging, as you see, they can go back and forth. Like, they're not restricted to one area. So the animals can go over on this side as well. So I'm very fortunate to have found a feed that is nutritious for all those animals. So with them, it's super easy because they all eat the same feed. I choose Hen House Reserve. It's a 17% protein for the animals across the board. Now, please note that when there's babies, that changes a bit, because when you have baby turkeys, they have to eat a higher percent of protein. So, and they also have to have, ducks have to have niacin in their diet. So there is a little bit of change up when they are babies. But once they're grown and laying eggs, it works beautifully to have Hen House Reserve. If you're wondering where that is located, it is in Ohio, but you can Google the company to find out where you can locate Hen House Reserve in your area. So often people ask me why I didn't separate with fences, and it's a really it's not a funny story, but it is a funny story. I didn't know any better. And I was not a farmer growing up. I have never lived in the country. This is a new thing for me. I got my first chicken in 2019, and it all blossomed from there. I am going to share my story about how it all happened in a later video, but I didn't separate them simply because I didn't know to separate them. And so people started coming to my farm asking me why they're all together and how I do that. And what I realized at that point is something special was happening in my farm. And that's what I wanted to educate people on as they come to my farm, is how they all live together in harmony. And one great fact about having the animals all together is the predator situation just decreased instantly when I started putting them all together. I don't know if the hawks get scared. I probably should go knock on some wood, but I don't know if the hawks got scared of the turkeys strutting or the peacock strutting, or maybe it was my massive cow. I'm not sure, but it's almost as if they all protect each other from predators. But I'm not saying it's never happened. So please note that, because it has happened, but it doesn't happen quite as often as I started to get the animals and started putting them together. Well, I hope that this was an enjoyable story for you. I'm looking forward to sharing more stories about how I live on my farm and how I take care of the animals and how everything just evolved and how it keeps evolving and the growth that keeps happening with my farm. It's just been a wonderful journey. It has changed my life, and I love waking up every morning. I don't care if it's storming. I don't care if it's a snowstorm. I love getting up and coming to see the animals. And that right there is true happiness. Thanks for tuning in. As you can see, they came home for food. See, if you treat your friends nicely, they'll stick around.